Hello, so I will be presenting about the Center for Independent Living, or known as the CIL. So, what is the CIL? Originally, it was founded in 1972 by a group called the Rolling Quads, ran by Ed Roberts and a few other students at UC Berkeley. It was the nation's first disabilities rights advocacy group, organized and operated by people with disabilities for the people with disabilities. It was once a student group that eventually became a community organization in San Francisco. Their mission was to use the collective power of the community to change the perceptions of disability, increase accessibility for the students, allowing the individuals to gain more control over their lives and decision making. This also led a movement that will allow the UC Berkeley entirety to be accessible to all. In the beginning, Ed, like many other disabled students, were under the control from not being able to make many basic decisions. However, in a result of this, he worked for the Disability Students Program, or the DSP, and also soon created the first CIL here in Berkeley. How did the CIL emerge for people with disabilities, allowing them to become the decision makers? So there are two factors where disability is just socialization, and Weber's ideas as switchmen. With disability as socialization, people with disability tended to accept their conditions at a very young age, becoming aware of their roles and how others viewed them in society. However, with the creation of the CIL, with that realization, it led on to the creation of the CIL to fight for the exclusion. And then with Weber's ideas as switchmen, the ideas come from people, and the people with disabilities really wanted to grow bigger than just a good life. They didn't want just to survive, but they also wanted to be able to live with their own decision making and independence. With socialization, following with Laurel, it was an idea where different parenting styles impacted a child's development, constructing their lives, and also impacting their opportunities and outcomes from their social mobility. This is referenced from lecture 17. And often parents would use directives telling them what to do, and with these kind of instructions, children with disabilities often face this as well with their families or nurses or doctors following instructions that would enforce the way that they would move across in the modern world. They were often playing under the distinctions and coding of two roles, the sick role and the impaired role. The sick role was where the sick person was not allowed to do normal social activities and responsibilities depending on the nature and the severity of their illness. And with the impaired role, it was just where the individuals was labeled as that their condition would most likely not improve and would not have most opportunities at all. And then with Weber's ideas as switchmen, the world often has ideas created by people themselves. And just like the Protestant ethic from lecture 7, when in the lack of consumptions and pleasures, when there are no restraints and limits, people are able to change their mindsets and not be constrained of those traditional ethical values as they strive for more social mobility. And that was the same with people with disabilities as they began to make social decisions on their own. Making the connections with micro motives and macro behavior, and in addition to the strength of weak ties. So with micro motives and macro behavior, Ed Roberts and the other students, as they stepped foot onto UC Berkeley, they interacted and responded to the free environment of adulthood And realizing the differences between the life being monitored at the hospital compared to the life on campus where they controlled their own schedules, they realized that all they needed to do to live on their own was just have support, attendance, and access. And then along with weak ties, Ed Roberts and his team also had like informal and weak ties with other people to spread the movement. Just like most bridges can't be strong ties, Ed Roberts was the bridge that was consistently contacting other people that he was pretty distant with. So with micro and macro behaviors, as quoted from Lecture 22, this happens when people respond to each other and responding to their environment that consists of people. So when individuals interact, maybe not on a one-on-one relationship between like individual preferences or collective outcomes, but rather it is because of how people respond to each other and their environment that consists of other people, and shaping their behavior through that individual interaction outside of the individual. This is something that happened with Ed Roberts and the other students as they created relationships and connections with other classmates. They would realize their opportunities. There was often quite a lot of interactions, like having students prepare their power chairs, or how often it was actually quite effective to get around the campus on their own, especially with the interdependence of a power chair. Ed Roberts was able to enjoy many pleasures and freedom that the college life had to offer, and that later on even asserted the idea that him and his friends should move on from the dorms and even live on their own out in apartments. And if it was a different situation, if Ed had gone through his other option of UCLA, an environment that was friendly to people with wheelchairs, he may have not been able to realize these differences and understand the opportunities that could have been made in these environments. And then we go on to the strength of weak ties, as referenced in lecture 24, where people with many weak ties are critical to spreading idea. Just as we mentioned with job searching and how bridges cannot be strong ties, Ed Roberts was like a bridge himself. He, as an interview that I had with Danford a while back, he informed me that communication was often difficult, and Ed Roberts would often spend the day on the phone, having people hear rumors of who to talk to and something that was going on. They would be connected to call someone that was connected to other people from conferences, phone calls, networking, and from any other countries that had activism going on. And it would have been pretty informal over the phone as they made these calls, but it helped build up this strong relationship and friendship. And overall, in conclusion, the creation of the CIL was because of how disability was just socialization, with Laurel on socialization 2019. the social decision making with Weber's ideas of Switchman, interactions and interdependence, interactions and independence with micromotives and macro behavior, referencing lecture 22, and Ed Roberts being the bridge to connect all the weak ties between acquaintances and friends that he met, as in reference to the strength of weak ties, lecture 24. Thank you for listening.